Okay, so Thor Love and Thunder is packed with a lot of big moments, a major ending, and mention of a Thorgy that will hopefully get on the deleted scenes when the movie releases on Disney+. Fingers crossed, but either way, there's a lot of questions that you probably have about the film, so I thought I'd break down the ones that I've seen asked the most on my recent Ending Explained video. This includes how Gorr lifted Stormbreaker, how love works, and what Jane said to Thor at the end, so make sure you stick around. Because of this though, there will be major spoilers, so if you haven't checked it out, then check out now. If you enjoy the video, then please hit the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns like this every day. Without the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into Thor Love and Thunder. Now the big question I see being asked is, how did Gord the God Butcher manage to lift Stormbreaker? It's something that's often brought up on videos whenever a character like Thanos grabs the axe, but it's actually very straightforward. The main confusion of this comes from people having to be worthy in order to lift Mjolnir, Moo, Jonathan. So in the first Thor movie, when we open the film, every single character could have lifted that hammer. That's right, even you loser. It was only upon Thor fighting the Frost Giants that Odin put this spell on it, which meant that only those that were worthy could pick it up. So the only reason people can't lift the hammer is because of the spell that was placed on it by Odin at the start of the first Thor movie. Now on the opposite side of this, the spell was never added to Stormbreaker. When it was forged by Eitri the Dwarf, Groot branched out and gave his arm so that it had a handle. However, at no point did anyone say anything like, only those who like and subscribe can lift this. This is why Thanos can use it in Avengers Endgame, and it's also why Gorr is able to carry it as well. On top of this, Love can carry it too, and not needing to prove that she's worthy is one of the reasons that she takes the axe whilst he takes Mjolnir. Now, though she draws on it, we see that this is when it's rested up in a bed, so yeah, didn't even need to lift it. Hopefully that explains it, mate, and you can stop asking 500 times on a video because I've explained it to you. Just remember. Anyway, we see the piece. I love you, really. We see the pieces of the hammer on display at one point in the film when Jane Fonda visits New Asgard. Jodie arrives there to catch it in a glass case, and I've seen a lot of people that are made up for this video wondering how the pieces were moved. Well, if you look around it, you can actually see that blades of grass surround it. These are likely, well I know they are, these are the same blades of grass that surrounded it when it was destroyed by Hela all the way back in Thor Ragnarok. Now in order to display it like this, all they've done is excavate the site and dug around where it was last seen. You can even tell this by the rock in the background that Odin died at. It's a big thing people need explaining to them, and I might have even pulled the video last time because even I got it wrong and had to have it explained to me in the comments, which I appreciate. Now in order to display it, the Asgardians would have dug up this land and just placed the glass bowl around the top of it. Now Mjolnir very much plays upon the idea of Newton's first law of motion. This states that an object will remain in place if no net force is exerted on it. The reason it sticks to the ground is because gravity is pushing it down in place. However, the Earth is also pushing up, and therefore it remains stationary. This is also why people can grab it whilst it's moving through the air, like we saw with Spider-Man in Avengers Endgame. The hammer is classed as being electrostatic, and therefore it just remains in place, unable to be moved. Now the hammer brings with it the powers of a god for Jane Foster. The main reason that it protects Jane is because Thor put a spell on it, similar to how Odin did, that means it will always watch out for her. Though she initially thinks that this will improve her health, we actually discover that it's killing her. But Paul, you say, surely this makes no sense. Well listen, you idiot, here's how it works. So gods are pretty much indestructible beings that border on being immortals. They have lifespans that last for thousands and thousands of years, and with this comes hardened cells and an almost indestructible immune system. Thor isn't the type of person that would get a cold because his body would just wipe out the virus as soon as it entered his system. Now in the case of Jane, this also counts for her chemotherapy drugs. As soon as she changes into the mighty Thor, her cells are hardened, her immune system is strengthened, and this instantly wipes out all the drugs in her system. However, this power also hardens the cancer cells, and it strengthens them so they themselves become superpowered. Therefore, they attack the rest of her cells at an accelerated speed and kill her even quicker than she would have died without the treatment. Now throughout the film, we follow her as she works with Thor. He takes Stormbreaker and she takes Mjolnir. There's also some jealousy amongst the weapons too, and you could say they're in a polyamorous relationship.
Ha ha!
Shoutouts IDK for that one, and throughout the film we discover that Gorr is travelling to eternity. Thor travels back home, and then he's able to immediately fly there through using Zeus's Thunderbolt. Now this has been confusing a lot of people, as it took them a long time to travel to the Shadow Realm in order to go toe to toe with Gorr. However, Thor went back there in a split second using the Thunderbolt. But firstly, this is because the entrance to eternity can really be created anywhere. This is why we see it forming around the children and Gorr before he arrives at it. It just so happened to be that they were in the Shadow Realm when it was summoned. It can really be anywhere in the entire universe, which we'll talk more about in just a bit. Now on top of this, the Thunderbolt is the tool of the God of Gods, aka Zeus. It's likely that he's omnipotent because he's able to travel at will throughout using the lightning bolt. Therefore, Thor having this also means he can appear anywhere at once. He also has a link to Stormbreaker, which is how he can call it using his hand. So Thor knew where eternity was because of it, and he could teleport there, which is why the circle of lightning appears around him just before he vanishes. Next question, what the f is that? Well, that takes us into our bit about eternity and love. Eternity is very much an embodiment of the entire universe, and in the comics, everything and everyone existed within him. He's very much the universe as much as the universe is him, and he encompasses all existence. Eternity can also control everything within the universe, such as time, life, death, magic, and both light and dark matter. This is how he is able to grant any wish and bring love back. I thought Gorr was pretty stupid asking for this though, because everyone knows you get one wish, you wish for 1,000,000 wishes. You damn punk.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Now at this point, love is brought forth and she appears in the reflection of the water looking much like eternity. She is very much an offshoot of him that encompasses the original love's thoughts, memories, consciousness, and everything about her from him. However, she's also very much a being of eternity, and that's why she also has some of his abilities at the end. It is possible that she will end up being classed as one of the Children of Eternity, who aren't to be confused with the Children of Eternity that were Blade villains. These were a bunch of kid vampires, whereas the actual Kids of Eternity ended up becoming concepts such as empathy, entropy, epiphany, and so on. I actually think that love will become the concept love, and that she will provide this for Thor in their father and daughter relationship. Now it's not really like eternity to grant wishes, and in the comics, I can't even think of a major time that this has been done. Most of the time he's watching over everything with characters like the Living Tribunal and his sister Infinity just sitting back chilling. Now both of these appear in the statue room that leads to him, and I think that down the line we will see more of these characters popping up in the MCU. Now come the end of the film, we see that Jane is taken to Valhalla after her death. She doesn't technically die in battle, but maybe eternity is outside of time and space, so it doesn't matter. Moving on. Now what I've seen asked quite a lot is how the afterlives in the MCU are connected. So far we've had one in Black Panther, Moon Knight had its own one, and now we also have Valhalla. They're all different, so how can they all exist as the afterlife? Well, let's take it to Moon Knight where Tara Wed explains it.
This is the afterlife? The afterlife?
An afterlife, not the afterlife. You'd be surprised how many intersectional planes of untethered consciousness exist. And because the duat's true nature is impossible for the human mind to comprehend,
Right.
you may perceive this realm as something more easily recognizable to you.
Bit hypocritical, to have so many. That doesn't really work, but basically what it means is that the afterlife is whatever you associate with the most. Moon Knight aligns with the Egyptian view of death, so he goes to that. I'm not sure how reincarnation works, but whatever you associate your faith or belief with is what will happen to you. Now this could also explain how Jane doesn't die in battle, but she still gets there. Maybe the battle thing was an interpretation by the living of how to get into Valhalla, and this could show that she gets to go there anyway. Now lastly, I want to talk about what Jane's catchphrase is. Throughout the movie she comes up with several, but never drops hammer time, which would have been a good one. However, I've went back and I've watched the film with the volume boosted thanks to my good mate who works at Slotlight, and I can now officially reveal what it is. So when Jane leans in, she pulls him close and says, "See ya, chum."